Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. On fire danger map, some areas had picked up some pretty good rainfall amounts during the day today over the last 12 hours, so that's knocked the fire danger down in those areas that received that, anywhere from half an inch to almost an inch. Occurred in some areas here due to thunderstorms that broke out this afternoon over the last 12 hours. So we've really knocked out the extreme fire danger we saw yesterday here southwest of the upper Yukon Valley, kind of a big area. Today, just a couple areas there over the Yukon Flats where it's been just about all summer and late spring. And also some extreme fire danger up over the far northwest interior, or actually the long mountain areas, Brooks Range, with high fire danger, high to very high, extending up along the western north slope there on out to the Arctic coast, as well as along the north side of the Brooks Range and into the north slope there over toward Umiat Airfield and then off to the east. High fire danger here still in the Copper River Basin, but not extreme. Also some rain and showers occurred there, areas just east of the Gulkana, Glen Allen area there, up into the mountains, picked up anywhere from 3 to 4/10 of an inch during the day today, with Gulkana only having about 500ths or so, and fire danger greatly improved since early last week, or since in the last few days here over south central Alaska. Still kind of high in the Susitna Valley. A couple of areas here, lower Kuskokwim Valley on out toward the deltas. And for satellite imagery today, low pressure here just south of the Alaska Peninsula, another one up in the Bering Sea, and some weak disturbances over the Aleutian. That's all combined to produce widespread cloudiness here from the southwest interior, right on out across all the Aleutians and the Bering Sea that extends north to St. Lawrence Island. You can see a low cloud or fog bank right through the strait up along the western Arctic coast, along or off, but pretty good day this afternoon after some morning fog, central and east side. They had sunshine, mostly clear skies, good VFR, same thing over the Seward Peninsula, variably cloudy with some sun into the Kobuk, Selawik Valley areas, and then showers here over the Copper River Basin with thunderstorms popping up quite nicely. Actually persisted all night here over the northeast Brooks Range, but really firing up again this afternoon through here and starting to pick up in the central interior, another batch over toward the just south of the Eagle area and then into Canada. And showers, Alaska Range, and some light rain along the North Gulf Coast, about 1/10 of an inch or 1500s falling at the Cordova Airport during the day today in a 12-hour period at 3 p.m. Mostly cloudy skies there for the southeast coast, just some isolated showers down in that area today. Juneau picked up about 2/100ths of an inch, as did Hoonah. This front a little more organized, and that bringing rain to Kodiak Island on into Bristol Bay, and that's slipping up in toward Kamishak Bay this afternoon, and to a lesser extent, just a few hundredths of an inch, except for a couple of areas there over the southwest interior. On the chart today, here's roughly where at mid-afternoon, where the lightning strikes had shown up. That extends back up, actually all the way up to just about into the north slope there, with showers either side of a low, or actually across the low center up over the eastern Brooks Range area. And then a couple, as I mentioned, really weak centers out there over the Bering Sea, weak troughs. One low center about 1,007 millibars. That's been good for light fog, rain, drizzle at times across the entire chain. Definitely IFR conditions there. And it looks like a few breaks there just east-northeast of the Pribilofs right through here. Otherwise, areas of fog over the Bering, right on up into the Bering Strait, and then along that fog bank there along the western north slope. Areas of smoke, really not much of a factor today, at least too much, but it's still there over the interior, but they're not carrying the dense smoke advisories anymore, as well as the Kenai Peninsula. With the light rain here, again, Kodiak Island with this frontal system here, and high pressure right off the southeast coast at helping keep the shower activity to a minimum, but still a lot of clouds. That'll continue tonight. May pick up a few clearing periods there over the southeast coast, fog along the coast possible. But general, about not much change actually tonight. Very light winds, Gulf of Alaska, basically high pressure at the surface over the eastern Gulf, and that kind of extends up weak center there, about 1,010 millibars over the Seward Peninsula. So thunderstorms, showers be in a diminishing mode tonight over the interior, but some will last until late tonight or early tomorrow. Eastern Brooks Range and the trailing edge of that very weak washed out trough brings a chance of moisture to the eastern Arctic coast and some clearing. And an even weaker one could bring in a little bit of moisture from Wainwright up to Point Barrow. Thunderstorms here, western Alaska Range early on could persist around Denali longer, and then rain, chances of here, light rain, fog and drizzle, IFR, Nunivak Island, cross Bristol Bay, on down to Kodiak. Winds light though, could pick up a little bit out of the southeast tomorrow. That'd be about the windiest location, as well as they could kick up a little bit along the Arctic coast with one of those passing troughs in that westerly flow. Otherwise, the outlook for Sunday, troughing this out here again over the Bering Sea, makes for kind of a IFR flying condition pattern out there with areas of fog, low clouds, light rain, drizzle, or just flat out drizzle. High pressure, a little drier here, but still a lot of clouds under the high ridge up there. Thunderstorms again in the interior up to the eastern Brooks Range. This front here not moving too fast, just slowly edging east-northeastward, 1,003 millibar low now just west of southwest Kodiak Island there. And another one up here over Kuskokwim Bay, but quite weak, cloudy skies and lower flying conditions with light rain fog showers here along the southwest coast. Maybe kind of a dry day over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta away from the coastline areas of smoke again. Showers along the Alaska Range developing into thunderstorms there, especially over the interior once again, and rain up along the southern Kenai Peninsula on up into Prince William Sound tomorrow, and kind of trying to come down Turnagain Arm a ways, probably get Portage, maybe Girdwood. And we've still got some shower threats over the southern panhandle. Otherwise, tomorrow a day much like today. Not a lot of change. High pressure center now just west of the Queen Charlotte. Still ridging northward, but quite a lot of moisture now with this front beginning to stream in. That'll probably move in overnight tomorrow night. And then the outlook for Monday, that front just a weak trough now right along the southeast coast. Light rain, possible fog, mostly a showery condition over the inside waters from Lynn Canal Glacier Bay on down, kind of scattering out for Klawock, Heidelberg, Heidelberg and Annette Metlakatla. Probably not too much in the way of any precipitation coming up there, just some showers. Thunderstorms again, maybe a little farther southwestern Alaska Range on up into possibly the, maybe the Talkeetnas. More likely, though, up toward Denali and along this trough over the eastern interior. Look for thunderstorm activity in the afternoon again. Otherwise, not too bad over the upper Yukon Valley. Partly to mostly sunny. Same thing for the eastern Arctic coast, right on across the north slope and toward the Noatak Valley. Kivalina, central Seward Peninsula, partly to mostly sunny. Of course, warmer temperatures there, but low clouds and fog here from the Bering Strait through St. Lawrence Island. Then we got some frontal action up there just north of the Arctic coast that may clip the central coast with a little bit of light rain and fog. Winds still don't look like they'll be much of a problem. As well as out in the Bering Sea, we've got high pressure, weak high pressure centered over the northwest Bering. Very weak low, 1,005 millibars with a trough, maybe a little moisture, light there. Could see some sun, Adak, Atka. Should be a dry day, at least in part, for the Fox Islands. Showers more likely northeast or near from the Pribilofs right up to the southwest coast. Could be even just kind of a light rain pattern here, but it'd be more convective actually in nature. So it'll be more scattered showers, but definitely cloudy skies. Taking a look at the overnight lows for tonight. Lower 60s, upper Yukon Valley, otherwise 50s, mid to upper over the central interior, all the way mid 50s to 50 out along the coast. 55 at Bethel, lower 50s, Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s for the Aleutians, 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, near 80 up over the upper Yukon Valley, or 78 to 82. Mid-70s from Eagle eastward across the Tanana Valley in the greater Fairbanks area, on out to the west here with 70-degree weather almost down to Bethel, but mid-60s there for St. Mary's and most other areas of the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. About the same for Bristol Bay, and highs in the mid to upper 60s, south central Alaska, lower 70s for the Copper River Basin, and mid to upper 60s there for the southeast coast, and 48 to 53 for the Aleutians. Lows for Monday morning, about the same near 60 upper Yukon Valley, otherwise mid to upper 50s on down the river valleys there, lower to mid 50s southern Alaska, and 40s along the Arctic coast, followed by highs again, much like tomorrow, near 80 over the upper Yukon Valley, on down to about 70 for, say, Sleepmute, lower 70s, lower to mid into the McGrath-Nikolai area, 65 to 72, Susitna Valley now, and about the same for the Copper River Basin.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to the first flying weather graphic. There is a marginal VFR here in the interior, some of that due to smoke and other areas fog or clouds. Some IFR up over along Prince William Sound, and from the Port Moller area down along east side of Kodiak Island. Nothing but IFR, Aleutians, Bering Sea, northward through the Bering Strait and across, I'll say, Kivalina to Cape Lisburne. And some IFR on the southern southeast coast, as well as up over Lincoln on Glacier Bay. Outlook for Sunday, marginal VFR. Actually, some VFR breaking out in the afternoon for the Panhandle. Other areas will be marginal. IFR, Barren Islands into Kamishak Bay, east side of Kodiak. Areas of marginal VFR, again, due to smoke in the interior. And looking at some improvement out here in the Bering Sea with an area of marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula, Central Aleutians to the Pribilofs. And for Monday morning, mostly IFR, Aleutians, Bering Sea, marginal from Unalaska Island, on up into Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula, Togiak, on up into, well, the Southwest Mountains. Otherwise, mostly VFR in the interior, some marginal VFR for Monday morning along and south and east of the Alaska Range. IFR here, east side of Kodiak, eastern Kenai Peninsula, obviously southeast flow here in the lee side. Susitna, Matanuska Valley will be VFR, much of the Copper River Basin. Mostly IFR in the southeast coast, and by afternoon, that'll become marginal VFR from Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, on down to Dixon Entrance. Same thing for the Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Most of the Kenai Peninsula, except areas, say, from Kenai northward and Cook Inlet will be VFR into the valleys. Copper River Basin, VFR interior. VFR, scattered thunderstorms, and the Arctic coast not too bad. North Slope, marginal VFR for the North Slope, and IFR now back over the western Bering Sea and over the northern areas too, just south of St. Lawrence Island. Passes tomorrow, both Anatuvik and Adigan, VFR, and Lake Clark and Merrill, mostly marginal VFR, lowest conditions in the morning, could possibly become VFR in the latter part of the afternoon. Rainy, mostly marginal the entire day, risk of a thunderstorm in the pass. Same thing for rain, windy, risk of a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon into evening. Otherwise, marginal VFR becomes VFR, probably by noon or before. And Isabel, VFR. Mintasta, VFR flying there. Again, risk of a thunderstorm mostly on the north side or the north entrance. And for Tanita, fell off there, but also a risk of a thunderstorm northern entrance. Otherwise, good VFR. And for Portage, IFR becoming marginal in the afternoon at best. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR could become VFR in the afternoon, even though there'll still be some lingering clouds and showers around, but could be an improvement to VFR during the afternoon, otherwise expected to be marginal. And for the freezing levels here, really not a lot of gradient across interior Alaska, the Panhandle, the Gulf, or really anywhere. 10,000 feet here up over the northeast interior, 8,000 right over central southern Cook Inlet, on down to the Alaska Peninsula, 8,000 across much of the Bering Sea, roughly 10,000 give or take here, southeast coast up into the Chukchi Sea, and a little cooler, 6,000 feet, southern Bering Sea and along and just north of the Aleutian Chain. As far as icing goes, best threat will be down here in the south of the incoming system and moisture coming up into Kodiak Island. Isolated areas of considerable moderate rime in here, Kodiak Island to the Aleutian Range and Alaska Peninsula up into the southern Cook Inlet area, as well as the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound. Another batch out here over the southwest interior from Dillingham to Togiak, Cape Newenham, maybe Kuskokwim Bay, less of a threat here to the north, and actually areas of icing threats traveling in that west-southwest flow along mostly the Arctic coast or just off. Another one here may move in, just a slight chance of some icing with those. Jet stream south here, well to the south of the area, although this branch cutting off and coming back around, that's going to be pulling that moisture in. Big trough here over the southern Bering Sea. 9,000 feet, southeast 25 to 30 knots. Kodiak Island, Kamishak Bay and the southern Alaska Range, Aleutian Range, much lighter, maybe 25 to 30 on the Arctic coast up there, and only 10 knots with the Panhandle. 3,000 feet, 5 to 10 here, central interior on down the southeast coast, 20 to 25 here at Kodiak Island. And as far as turbulence goes, occasional moderate chop for Iliamna Lake and Kachemak Bay.
So today we are surveying Dall sheep in the park. Now I see a couple ewes and lambs. Oh, they're frolicking. It's so cute. We get out the scope, we get out the optics, try to count, really, well, is that a ewe with kind of largish horns, or is that a young male, Try to make those finer distinctions to make our data as accurate as possible.
You said you only see 3. I thought I saw 4 in there too.
Specifically trying to get, as best we can, a sense of how many lambs there are per 100 ewes is the standard measurement. Yeah, I'd probably call that a yearling, which is basically looking at kind of how's the reproductive success.
My name is Michael Raffaelli. I'm a jack of all trades in the National Park Service.
I'm kayak plotter, and today at least I'm a wildlife technician. I feel like until I get the master's, I don't know that I can quite full out say I'm a wildlife biologist. I grew up in Palmer, Alaska. One thing I really discovered when I was living in the lower 48, which is what we call the rest of the country, was that everywhere felt just like a little bit claustrophobic to me.
And I've always identified as a Californian, and you hear people that move here and it's like, well, how long do you have to be here to be an Alaskan? And I say I live in Alaska, I think that's the way to say it. I live here now, and that transition has been interesting. And I don't know what it would be like to go back to California. I think that's where, when I talk to people, they say, oh, that's the harder transition, because all of a sudden you realize everything that's so important. For me, it's the open space, that I can look out my window and see for miles and know that there's no roads and that we have these wild areas.
Actually, part of the reason that this park was initially formed was that people were seeing the large numbers of sheep here, that it was really good habitat.
Charles Sheldon was a hunter. That's what originally drew him up here to Alaska. Those sheep were being hunted not only for a couple of specimens, but people were coming in and potentially decimating the population.
Especially with market hunting as the area was being developed, the railroad, a lot of them were being killed to feed those camps.
Him seeing that and saying, wait a second, we're not going to have these sheep in the future unless we do something about it now. It was ultimately the power of his passion, and he affected somebody else, and that affected somebody else, and that affected somebody else, to ultimately create a huge national park that hundreds of thousands of people come to visit every year. I feel lucky to have that opportunity to go out and take the time to look at them, even if they are just little white dots, and remember what those little white dots represent. His first trip, of course, where we were hiking, is where he shot his first sheep, was on Cathedral Mountain.
Obviously the park is much too large to effectively ground survey all of it. I mean, it's 6 million acres, it's just not going to happen. So basically, what they want to do is say, okay, we're going to look at kind of a subsample, see what that number looks like.
And groups divide up, hiking in groups of 2 or 3 people, and walk around surveying the area that's likely sheep habitat.
These canyons are so steep and twisted that, your one vantage point might be all you ever get.
But with the binoculars, just happen to see on the ridge line looking, oh, a couple of white dots that I probably wouldn't have noticed otherwise, and sure enough, ended up being another nursery group.
We're on the south part of Cathedral Mountain right now, which is very sheepy. There's, the steep terrain, which they like, but there's also, enough vegetation that they can be feeding on that. Nothing has space anything like Alaska does. And that's, to me, that's a really special feeling. And it's a little bit of a paradoxical feeling because I know that me being here enjoying it is one person making that space just a little bit smaller. But I hope that places like Denali are able to facilitate people's interactions with wild areas in ways that aren't very destructive.
The parks and the Park Service they're that piece that we have to keep asking ourselves, is this important to us? And we have to continually answer that, and it's important that every generation engages in those discussions.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis. Not a lot of change from yesterday. Pretty thin in through here off the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, up down along the portions of the eastern coastline there, north of Dead Horse of Prudhoe Bay. And not a lot of change expected for the next 5 days, with just the ice field shifting around with the currents and the winds. Moving on, coastal water forecast, real light winds I mentioned here over the southeast coast, south 5 knots, central south coast 10 to 15 knots on the north coast, seas 3 to 4 feet here all along the coastline. Lynn Canal, south 15 and south 5 for Clarence Strait, and light winds also in store for Clarence Strait, and light winds for Stevens Passage 5 to 10 knots. And then on Monday, central southern inside waters, south-southeast at 10, seas 2 feet. Southerlies a little brisker, up to 20 knots in the afternoon for Lynn Canal. And the extreme north coast up there, winds southeast at 20 with that trough pushing in or weakening front. Otherwise, south 15 knots with the central coast, and even lighter on the coast of Prince of Wales Island, the offshore marine area, or the coastal marine area. And moving to Prince William Sound, east 15 tomorrow, southeast 15 for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Seas 3 feet in those areas. 5-foot seas with a 20-knot east wind for the western North Gulf Coast. And we've got small craft advisories for the Barren Islands. Look for east winds at 25 with 8-foot seas. 30-knot winds for Kamishak Bay. Kind of a narrow band of those gusty winds getting support aloft there. Otherwise, light winds for Cook Inlet. Out of the northeast, or variable northeast at 10 with 3-foot seas. And then for Monday, Cook Inlet, pick it up to 15 out of the northeast, 3-foot seas. And east at 20 with 5-foot seas there for Kamishak Bay. So coming down on the wind, southeast 20. No small craft advisories now for the Barren Islands. Southeast 15 for the western North Gulf Coast. South 20 knots though. For the east side there, Middleton Island zone, and Prince William Sound, east of 15, seas running about 3 feet. Kodiak Island, small craft advisories, 25-knot winds, which will be northeast for Shelikof Strait, and southeast for the east side of Kodiak Island. Seas running at about 8 feet, and Sitkinak to Castle Cape got a southwest fetch of winds at 20 with seas at 8 feet, so small craft advisories included in that zone. And 15 to 20 knot westerlies across the Alaska Peninsula with seas as high as 6 feet on the Pacific side, 3 feet in the Bering side. Bristol Bay east at 15, seas 2 feet. Southwest 15 from Bristol Bay, seas at about 3 feet for the Monday outlook, and southwest 20 knots here for the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. And from Cape Sarachef to Castle Cape, west 20 knots, and then Castle Cape to Sitkinak, southwest 15. 10-knot southwest winds for Shelikof Strait, 3-foot seas, and east side of Kodiak, southwest at 20 with seas up to 7 feet. Fox Islands tomorrow and Alaska Islands split it up again, southwest 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 6 feet. And then Unmak Island there, southwest on the Pacific side, southeast on the Bering Sea side, 10 to 15 knots, 10 to 15 knots southwest winds, Adak and Atka, and west 15 for the area from Kiska to Shimya. And those pick up on Monday. We've got west 25 out there toward Shimya and Attu over toward Kiska Island. Otherwise, Kiska over toward Adak south at 20, Adak and Atka specifically, southwest 15, seas 2 to 5 feet. Pretty slack here on the Bering Sea side. And then westerlies across the Fox Islands, 15 knots out of the west for Unmak Island, and west 20 knots around Alaska Island, seas 4 to 6 feet. Southwest coast tomorrow, pretty light winds, especially south of Nunivak Island, northeast at 10, seas down to 2 feet. Light winds also for the Pribilof, south at 10, 2-foot seas. Same thing for St. Matthew Island, north side of Nunivak Island, Yukon Delta coast, north at 15, turn northeast 15 for St. Lawrence Island, and Norton Sound, northeast 10 tomorrow, become north 10 on Monday. 15-knot northerlies from the Bering Strait across St. Lawrence Island, northeast 20 north side of Nunivak Island, southwest 15 on the south side there. Northwest 20-knot winds for the Pribilos, 4-foot seas, and that exact same forecast good for St. Matthew Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, or the entire coastline there, until you get down toward Cape Beaufort. Anyway, west 15 tomorrow, seas 3 feet. Southwest 15, Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson. We got 20-knot winds here from the southwest, from Cape Thompson to Wales. And then for the Monday outlook, Wales to up there to Cape Thompson, south 15. And then small craft advisories here from Cape Thompson, probably up to Point Lay or so. And then east 15, Central Coast, light easterlies at 10 on the east side, seas 1 to 2 feet. For tonight, again, thunderstorms be winding down later on this evening, and then especially toward midnight and after, but some may linger throughout the night like we had this morning. Showers really tapering off as well. Variably cloudy along the Panhandle, mostly dry, light winds, rain here along the southwest coast, Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula, continuing Kodiak Island. This trying to spread up into Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula as well as Prince William Sound. And the outlook for Sunday, chance of rain North Gulf Coast, better chance for Kodiak up into Kamishak Bay. Showers and thunderstorms again over the interior. A day like today for the Panhandle, cloudy IFR type stuff out over the Bering Sea. Again for Monday, a little bit of improvement, but this low stays over the southwest with some showers.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.